Hello and welcome to this week's video. My name is Anuska Taylor. So great to have you here. And this week's video is for Valentine's Day, which I know is next week, but I've called it Give Your Voice Some Love. Because in my experience, most people, unless something goes wrong with their voice, don't give their voice any love, any thoughts. It's just something that just happens. And I don't really think that much about it. So I want to kind of help you to understand, first of all, why it's so important to take care of your voice, but also some practical things that you can do. And my videos are really aimed at people with high vocal demands. So if you're someone that doesn't have high vocal demands, you may not notice any particular issues with your voice. And that's absolutely fine. But for people that are talking for hours every day, where there's high demands, they're in pressurized environments, they might have to speak loudly over music or to large groups of people. These are the people that I'm really talking to in this video. So it could be that you are a trainer, that you are a lecturer or a teacher, and you're talking all day long to classrooms of pupils or a lecture hall of students. You could also be a corporate trainer and be training groups of people all day in the corporate environment. But the commonality there is you're talking for long periods of time, and there's a certain energy that's required for that. You could also be someone that's on the phone all the time. Maybe you're a coach or a consultant, or you work in a sales role and you're just on the phone constantly. You don't really have a break from speaking. Or maybe, and this is also the kind of other group of people that I help, you are involved in lots of high stakes meetings, presentations, and pitches. And it's not just about, can my voice survive this meeting this afternoon? It's I actually want to bring the greatest version of my voice to the table, because actually my voice matters when I'm trying to influence and persuade people of my ideas or thoughts. So whatever angle you're coming from, whether it's just you're talking for long periods of time, or you're trying to actually maximize the impact you can make, you have to take care of your voice. Because at some point, if you don't, cracks will begin to show, whether that's literal cracks or metaphorical cracks. And we don't want that. And it's absolutely unnecessary, because actually, if you just look after your voice, it will last you. And that's what's so crazy. There's so much we can do to actually prevent a lot of the vocal issues that I see with clients that I work with. So first of all, we've got to remember that the voice is a full body instrument. It doesn't work in isolation. We have to, when we think about our voice, see it in the context of our mind and body, because it's all interconnected. And I've talked about this in other videos, that when we have a thought, a message is transmitted to every cell in our body. If that's a message of stress and anxiety and tension and worry, then that's going to impact the body and the voice in that way. The challenge with this, of course, also is a lot of our thoughts are unconscious. So this is a much bigger topic than I'm going to cover in today's video, but just to be aware that your mind is driving everything. Your physical health is also really important. So do you actually take care of your physical health? Do you run, walk, go to the gym, do yoga, Pilates, whatever your form of exercise is? Do you actually physically take care of your body, keep it strong, keep it healthy, keep it agile? Because that's all going to impact the functionality of your voice or not. So if we hold a lot of unnecessary tension in the body, that is going to feed into the voice, just as if we have a lot of worrisome, negative, anxious thoughts, that is not going to help our voice open freely and fully. But let's look at the voice now, because I think for most of you watching this video, that's probably the bit that you don't have the knowledge around. So let's look at what you can do specifically with your voice. So number one, which we could argue also falls into the body category, but it's particularly important to the voice, and I'll tell you why, is hydration. Because the vocal folds need to be hydrated to move freely and effortlessly. And they actually have a mucosal membrane over the vocal folds, which if it's dehydrated, it's just not going to have that flexibility to move. So it really, really needs to be super hydrated. It loves to be hydrated. The wetter, the better, as one of my books says. So when you're thinking about drinking water, it's kind of too late to drink 2 seconds before you're about to go on stage. It's not going to do anything. You need to allow at least 4 hours from when you need your voice to be functioning at its best to when you really sort of drink as much water as you can. So for example, if you had a full day of speaking, you might want to sort of up your intake of water the day before and then have a big glass of water when you first wake up in the morning, just to kind of get the body as hydrated as possible. It also obviously means that you might want to avoid things that you know dehydrate you. And, you know, there's obviously different research out there around caffeine, obviously alcohol, smoking, those types of things we know will dehydrate. As a rule of thumb, if you're having an alcoholic drink or even a coffee, just try and have a glass of water with it to kind of mitigate the dehydrating effects. Also, just bear in mind the environment that you're in as well, because that can be very dehydrating, particularly at this time of year. I'm in the UK and it's quite cold at the moment, which means there's a lot of central heating on, which just dries everything out, the voice, the skin, hair, everything. But also you might live in a country which is really hot and you have the air conditioning on all the time. Again, I mean, when I lived in Australia, I just found that almost as intense as the heating. And I used to find my eyelids would stick to my eyeballs if I fell asleep in front of the air conditioning. So it's just so drying. And just to be aware of that, and maybe you want to get a humidifier if that's open to you. If you've got a very hot or dry office, perhaps get a humidifier. So there's just things that you can do. Also, if you're someone that travels a lot, and obviously there's a lot of people out there that do a lot of travel, are expected to get off a plane and then run a meeting, a presentation, a training event. Again, the air on an airplane is extremely dry. So it's just thinking about that, because it's so harsh on the voice and it just cannot function well when it's severely dehydrated. Another thing you can do the night before, and something that I love to do, is steam your voice. And you can actually buy like little personal steamers. You can also just go and stand in the shower and inhale the steam, or you could be old school and just get a bowl of water, like boiling water. Just make sure it's not sort of going to scald you. So, you know, don't put your head over it straight away. But when it's kind of, the temperature's dropped a little bit, then you can put your head over the top with a towel over your head. But however you want to get the steam inhalation is probably going to give you the most direct moisture hit, I suppose. It's going to be much quicker than drinking water. So if you're feeling out your voice is particularly dry, jump in the shower in the morning and just inhale some of that steam. And if you can do it for about 10 minutes, that will really help. Then just give your voice a break, like don't speak straight away, inhale the steam for sort of 10 minutes, then have some silence, and then you can get on with your day. So number 2 is to rest, and I've called this kind of rest and reset throughout the day. So if you are in back-to-back meetings or a big kind of presentation or big training day, you want to try and give yourself some vocal naps. And this could be 5 minutes, but this is absolutely no speaking, voicing, whispering, talking on the phone, like nothing. It's total vocal rest. And you might want to do those sporadically throughout the day, even if it's just 5 minutes. Again, it just gives the voice that bit of an opportunity to reset and just allows things to kind of release a little bit. Then as part of that reset, you can also do some very simple vocal warm-ups, some glides. You can do that with a siren, and you could do that on something like an NG, so the end of the word sing. And really the idea is you're just moving the voice up and down. So there's no right or wrong, just make sure that the voice is kind of moving. And if you can keep the voice sort of moving throughout the day with the vocal naps, again, that's going to really help. Because what happens is when we speak, we tend to speak in a very narrow range, and it puts a lot of load in one particular part of the voice. So what we're doing here is we're really unpressing the voice. We're giving it a break and we're unpressing the voice and we're getting things moving. So that's why it's really important to go as low and as high as you can without pushing, without straining. Number 3 is more of just a general rule for any voice, any time you use your voice. And this will really, really help. I see this a lot, people that constantly clear their throat. And it can almost be a bit of a nervous thing. It's like before they start speaking, they don't actually really need to clear their throat. It's like some people might be fiddling with jewelry or fiddling with a pen. Other people go before they start speaking. But actually what you're doing every time you clear your throat is you are slamming your vocal folds together at high speed. And all actually that ends up happening is you exacerbate the issue. And the more you clear your throat, the more you'll find you need to clear your throat. So instead, there's a couple of things you can do. If you've got some water handy, take a sip of water. Or if you don't have any water handy, you just want to swallow. And I find personally for me, if I really have this urge to clear my throat, to put my chin to my chest and swallow, and then it just really allows everything to kind of cleanly move. So whatever you do, just don't clear your throat, because it's just so damaging to the voice and it's just going to create more problems further down the track if you do that all the time. The other thing just to mention about clearing your throat, if it's something that you persistently do and you've noticed it over a period of time, I would definitely recommend you go and see your GP, because it could be pointing to reflux. It's a common symptom of reflux, which obviously you want to manage with diet and other things. But just to be aware, if it's something that you're aware you do, perhaps when you're just a bit nervous, then this will really help. Or if it's something you do quite infrequently, but if it's something you persistently do, you do want to look into that, because there's probably some underlying health issue going on, and reflux is a very common cause of clearing throat. And then finally, vocal technique. We can't get away with poor vocal technique for too long if you have high demands on your voice, because you are just, the more you speak in those high demand situations, when you haven't got the technique to support the voice, you're just creating issues further down the track. So it's worth investing. If your voice really matters, it's really important to your business or career, learning how to produce sound from an optimal, healthy place is so important. It is very, very hard to teach yourself. And even when, you know, people watch my videos, and I try and make them as general as possible, but there's no substitute to working privately with someone on your voice, but they can listen to you, they can help you with your voice and specifically what you need, which is going to be different for different people. So yes, it's great to watch these videos, and I love creating these videos. There's no substitute for having a personalized plan for you and your voice. And it's really just understanding, again, this is not about accent. This is not about changing accent. This is just about, how does the voice actually function best? How can I actually create maximum power with minimal effort? How can I find greater expression, find greater dynamics in my voice? How can I breathe more efficiently? That's really going to support and empower you to go out there and to speak with greater confidence. I just can't underestimate this. It's just so important, because all the other things, you know, you can manage, but if you don't have a proper technique in place in the first place, you are just at some point going to have to deal with this anyway, if you are speaking for long periods of time every day. And these are the kinds of clients that I see. They kind of wait till the problem is so big that they can't deal with it anymore, and then they come and work with me. So you don't need to wait until it becomes a big deal, because actually I can promise you, the more you understand your voice and you learn to kind of really open it up and free it, you are just going to show up in a whole different way in these meetings. You are going to show up with so much more confidence, and you're going to be able to make a greater impact when you do speak. So as they say, knowledge is power. So really just understanding this incredible instrument that is inbuilt is going to really, really help you. So thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in finding out more about my voice coaching approach, you can go to my website, anuskataylor.com. You can also book a free voice consult below, and the links are all below. There's other options as well. I've got an online course. You can book an actual vocal session with me for an hour. And just have a look and see if this resonates with you, because every voice coach has a slightly different approach. My approach is quite unique. So see if this resonates. But if you have any questions about today, please don't hesitate to post them below. And thank you so much, and have a great week, and I'll see you next week.